This is the story of Haruka Sakura, our protagonist who while sleeping has a nightmare in which he remembers how both his schoolmates, adoptive parents, and even the few friends he had, branded him as trash, since he was always involved in problems and fights. Additionally, he had the problem of his appearance with his adoptive father, as we see he has half white and half black hair, and every day when he went to school, the girls made fun of his eyes because they are of two different colors. He was discriminated against day by day, and then he wakes up, going for a walk in the commercial district of TPU. The place looks very peaceful and friendly, as everyone buys calmly, on a notice. We see that those who harm others from that point on will have to deal with the windbreakers, and well, our Sakura is walking peacefully, while in his thoughts he emphasizes that he is not interested in the weak, as he likes people who are strong. Near that place, a girl is surrounded by some thugs, and she points out to these bandits that even if she wanted to throw the egg she has, she won't do it because they are not worth it, and as she tries to leave, the leader grabs her, and just at that moment, our Sakura was passing by and seeing the dirty scene. He mentions that the arrogant weaklings who think they are invincible are the ones he detests the most, so he grabs the leader of the thugs by the shoulder while asking him if it's not too early to be doing their nonsense. However, the guy has no patience and throws a punch at our protagonist, but being the cool guy he is, he dodges it quickly and with just one punch knocks him out, and well then he also knocks out the other companions of his, and once he's knocked out, he approaches the leader and tells him that he's very stupid to think he's someone strong, and while grabbing him by the collar, he mentions to him to remember his face and name, because the weak ones do well to avoid him, but he will always be waiting for the strongest, and now he tells him his full name and also that he studies at the high school, and obviously, all this situation is observed by the girl, and well, our protagonist simply leaves. So she quickly goes to him and holds his arm thanking him for saving her, but our clueless friend asks her if she's referring to him, and all flustered she yells at him that he didn't do it to help her, and that he really just disliked those guys. So the girl asks him if he's hungry, but our shy friend, all embarrassed, says no, but she still takes him to eat, and once they're in the girl's place, she tells him that because of his appearance and because she doesn't recognize his face in this city, he might be from out of town, which our protagonist confirms, as he also mentions that he's a weirdo. But she reassures him and tells him that she didn't do it just for him, but until a few years ago, the city was very dangerous because there were many conflicts between gangs, and normal people didn't even want to approach this city, and that's why she finds it weird that he comes from outside, although she reveals that she's not from this place either. And she serves him a rice omelet, the very famous omuris, and introduces herself as Kotowa Tachibana, but he just looks at her seriously and wonders why this girl is so familiar with him, as he thinks that because of his appearance, it would be normal for people to be scared, especially since this girl witnessed when he beat up just a group of 5 abusive guys, and as she sees him looking at the food, she asks him if he's not going to eat it, and he scolds her saying he'll eat it right away. And the truth is, this guy eats in a very peculiar way. Although trying the food, he's surprised at how delicious it is, and with his mouth full, he asks her if she sells food to take away, when she corrects him that maybe he meant food to eat on the spot. He still insists that he thought it was takeaway food. Nevertheless, she only sells food to eat on the spot, which fits our protagonist's plans better, and then she observes him better, realizing with great astonishment that this guy has a very peculiar appearance because his eyes are 2 different colors, and his hair too. So this very direct girl, getting very close to him, asks him if he dyes his hair. So our rebellious guy asks her what's the problem, and she only gets even closer, mentioning that his eyes look like marbles. And he understands this sudden approach as if she wants a fight, but Tachibana clarifies that it's not a provocation, so our tough guy lowers his fists, mentioning that she's very weird, as most people reject him or tell him he's disgusting. And it's then that she mentions she's seeing even weirder things every day like this, and even less our Sakura, who looks at her like a weirdo, and like a macho guy. He downs the glass of water with force while telling her that in a fight, physical appearance doesn't matter, and that's why he came to Fury High School, because that place is well known for its terrible grades, but above all for having excellent fighting students. Basically a den of outcasts where there's not a single holiday without fights due to faction struggles and coups daily, and he's sure he'll reach the top. Upon hearing this, The girl tells him that he seems very confident, but he, being humble, mentions that he's not at all, and in his mind, he thinks that there's nothing better than a battle for the crown among a bunch of misfits who only know how to fight. Basically a battle to decide who reigns among the scum, which is perfect for him, and then the girl teases him that he's very excited about the classes he's going to have to the point that he's already wearing the uniform today, and that his classes start tomorrow, but our rebel tells her no, and explains that it's because he just moved and doesn't have any other clothes, and she keeps teasing him that starting the year is very exciting for him. So our angry boy gets even more upset, and getting up he asks her to settle this outside, although at that moment, the old man who was behind leaves the place and thanks for the food, and obviously, being the old man he is, he walks slowly enough to have time to mention that he left the money on the table. So, the girl naturally approaches to open the door for him, although at that moment, our guy gives the old man a bag because he had forgotten it, and this act surprises Tachibana a lot. And she gives him the candies that the old man gave her because there were too many for her grandson, so he left some for our protagonist as a thank you, and he also asked the girl to thank him for him, which obviously makes our protagonist blush. And she lets him know, which makes him even redder, and he explains to the girl that because of his appearance and wearing the uniform of some delinquents, she should be afraid of him, because it would be normal to distrust him, and so he tells her an anecdote from the past, because he was calmly walking when he found a wallet, and when he tried to return it to the guy, this ungrateful accused him of stealing it. These people are so ungrateful, but that didn't bother our protagonist, and upon hearing this, the girl doesn't know if he wants people to trust him or the opposite, but with a sincere smile, she tells him that he did well in choosing that high school. However, she clarifies that he won't be able to reach the top of Fury. Upon hearing this, our Sakura gets heated up, emphasizing that nobody knows how strong he is, so she clarifies that he won't be able to reach the top because he's alone. And that reminds our protagonist of some traumas, so angrily he emphasizes that he's not so weak as to need others, and throwing the chair as a vandal would do, he leaves the place, and as he's about to reach the door, he mentions that he'll go see the guys from Fury, while in his mind, he thinks that only he will understand it, and after that, our boy looks at the sky, while near the place some vandals are destroying the shops, as it's the same group that our protagonist hit, only this time there are many more. But as they are just flies to our Sakura, he approaches them very closely, so the leader mentions that he didn't expect him to come willingly because he could have easily escaped like a coward seeing that there are so many. However, our black and white guy ignores him and walks straight ahead, so the guy grabs his shoulder and reminds him that he asked him to remember his face and name. He even mocks him for wearing contact lenses and a very ugly wig, and to top it off, he asks him if he does cosplay, although when he gets closer to our protagonist, he retracts what he said because everything looks real, and yet he tells him he's a disgusting guy, which makes our Sakura smile because that's the reaction he expected. Yes, our protagonist expected others to reject and repudiate him, perhaps because he's already used to it, and he even mentions that he's already given up, so he just feels like he's worth something by using the logic that if he beats someone, he's superior to them. Likewise, he remembers the girl's words while the guy keeps mocking him because he hit someone he shouldn't have, and obviously, no gang lets their leader be beaten so easily, and he also reveals that they are currently at war with Fury High School. But our guy is already tired of these words, so, closing his fist, he gives him a tremendous punch in the face, knocking him out instantly, while he complains that other people discriminate against him, wondering what he's done to them, as he only has eyes and hair of different colors. And while he shouts at everyone that he's like this and starts giving them a beating, yes, our protagonist fights in a very cool way, and it doesn't matter if they have a bat or grab his clothes, he'll still defeat them. And as all this fighting brings such a noise, it reaches Tachibana's ears, so she goes out to see, and at that moment, one of the cowards grabs her like a shield, so our Sakura saves her without hesitation, and although she thanks him, he tells her to shut up because he only kicked the guy because he disliked him, so our very Sundara protagonist, and despite defeating several others, many more come to attack him, but still keeps fighting and throwing each one. And it gets a little more difficult for him each time because he can't fight and protect the girl at the same time. Although at that moment, he also wonders why he's protecting her, since he knows very well from experience that doing something for others never brings anything good, and then a cheater stabs him in the foot, so now it's more difficult for him to fight. But here comes a damn fight, and our protagonist dodges, backing off and crushing the girl a little to save her, and when he's about to receive the second bat, he wonders what he's doing here and what he really wants to do, but surprisingly saved by a student from Fury, who asks him if he's a freshman, also highlighting that it's lucky that he was here protecting the city, and as our protagonist recognizes the uniform of this guy, because he's also from Fury High School, and this new guy goes to Tachibana asking her not to tell him he was in danger. With him we don't know who he refers to, but the case is that with a single blow, he knocks out the one with the bat, and as reinforcements approach, the savior reminds the Vandals what happens to people who harm this city, and breaking the metal bat with just his hands, he shouts at the bullies that now they know what awaits them, surprising our protagonist that he was helped by those from Fury, and so, the brawl begins, although more than a fight. It seemed like abuse by the Fury students towards their rivals, as not even 3 could take on one of them, and as they try to attack our Sakura, and since he can't move, the savior comes back again, smashing the enemy with a kick. While it irritates our guy that he backs off because it will get very ugly, but our rebel yells at him not to interfere because that fight is his, and so all the neighbors through the windows cheer on the Fury students, leaving our Sakura a little stunned. So Tachibana is in charge of telling him that the real reason why the city is no longer considered dangerous for the past 2 years is because some Fury students changed it, and to start with, they put up a sign at the city entrance warning the gangs that messed with this place would be annihilated. And these young heroes at first only signed with the name of their high school, but then the people of the city, because of the gratitude they had for these guys, and because these same guys fought to protect the place, called them the Windbreakers, and the truth is, he's a very cool guy, serving as a shield for the city, and that's how she finishes telling us that a group of misfits, and even though they keep fighting now, the people need and appreciate them, but all this seems to our protagonist like a bunch of superheroes that nobody avoids or fears, which makes him feel a little frustrated, and at that moment, 2 people come to thank our protagonist, as he's been defending the city from the beginning. Likewise, an old lady tries to heal his wound, but feeling uncomfortable, he yells at her to stop, so Tachibana approaches him mentioning that she was watching him, and it's because he doesn't fight because he wants to fight, he has his own reason, but even so, the people of this city need him, and there our angry boy tells her that he doesn't need anyone, much less will he relate to someone like that. So she also gets serious and asks him why he helped her or the old man, which makes our Sakura think, and while she's bandaging him, he knows he hasn't given up on others, and she emphasizes that he doesn't need to because at least she'll be watching him, so she asks him to look her in the eye and, of course, around him so he can become what he really wants to be. But even with these very nice words, our protagonist starts running, and while jumping 5 meters, he emphasizes that he can also win just one fight, and he doesn't care about the Windbreakers or the city's shield. The fact that some criminals are now heroes seems very cool to him, and epically he also crushes the face of the leader of the Vandals, surprising everyone, and even Tachibana smiles, telling us that this is the story of a misfit who only knows how to fight and becomes the greatest hero in the city.